Jiu-Jitsu athletes. Do you find yourself constantly getting gassed out on the mat? Or maybe you're someone who can roll hard for 1 or 2 rounds, but then you have to sit out on the side because you're just straight up exhausted? That used to be me. I was that guy that came into Jiu-Jitsu being fit and in shape, but would completely gas out when it came to live Jiu-Jitsu training. It wasn't until I discovered these 3 tips that have helped myself, as well as thousands of athletes that I've worked with across the world, make massive improvements in their overall Jiu-Jitsu conditioning, which ultimately help them be better prepared to win more matches and get injured less. What's going on, guys? My name is Josh Settlage and I am the BJJ Strength Coach. And before we dive into the video, I had a free gift that I'd love to send you. If you want to get started on developing some strength so that way you are better prepared to win more matches and get injured less, I have a free 4-week strength program that I'd love to send you. All you got to do is just click the link in the description below. Now let's dive into those 3 conditioning tips I was telling you guys about. If you've been doing jiu-jitsu for any amount of time, you know that there is nothing that compares to the exhaustion that you feel when you're rolling hard on the mat. There is no exercise or cardio machine or CrossFit workout that perfectly replicates the physical demands of jiu-jitsu. That is why we need a specialized system of training to enhance athletic development in this incredibly unique sport. Jiu-jitsu is known as a mixed energy domain sport. Your body uses different energy systems to fuel various types of physical activity. Some sports like the 100-meter dash, shot put, powerlifting, and Olympic weightlifting all use energy systems that are mostly associated with quick bursts of highly explosive power and force output. Other sports such as marathon running and cross country rely on energy systems that are associated with lower levels of power output, but with a consistent work rate over longer periods of time. On one side of the spectrum, we have short duration and high intensity, and on the other hand, we have longer duration, low intensity. And jiu-jitsu is a unique sport in that it lands somewhere in the middle. You definitely need a base of long form conditioning to be able to last the 60 to 90 minute jiu-jitsu training sessions you go through each week, as well as a base level of fitness and conditioning to sustain your energy over the course of multiple matches in a day at a competitive tournament. But you also need the high intensity conditioning to help you scramble to a dominant position when it matters most. Because jiu-jitsu is a mixed energy domain sport, many jiu-jitsu athletes often make the mistake of focusing on only one end of the conditioning spectrum. This is a huge mistake, and it can actually hurt your overall jiu-jitsu performance. Here are my 3 best tips to help you not make the same mistake. Tip number 1, learn to breathe. The fastest and simplest way to improve your conditioning for jiu-jitsu is to learn how to breathe efficiently and effectively. Here are 2 easy steps to help you improve your breathing for jiu-jitsu. 1, stop holding your breath. You may not even realize it, but you may actually be tensing up and holding your breath during some of your drills and your live sparring rounds. The more you tense up and hold your breath, the faster you're gonna end up gassing out. Slow things down if you need to and focus on maintaining a manageable breath rate on the mat. Number 2, don't be a mouth breather. Did you know that constantly breathing in and out of your mouth could be holding back your conditioning on the mat? Instead, try focusing on nasal breathing as much as you can during your jiu-jitsu training. Nasal breathing will help improve breathing efficiency, increase carbon dioxide tolerance, and decrease the recovery time needed between intense bouts of physical activity. This essentially means that you'll be able to do more work for a longer period of time at a higher intensity without gassing out as quickly. Switching to nasal breathing only can be very difficult, especially during some of your live training rounds. What you can do to get started on nasal breathing is to focus on breathing exclusively in and out of your nose during all of your technique work and some of your drills. As you become more comfortable with nasal breathing, start focusing on maintaining nasal breathing as much as you can during some of your live sparring rounds. Tip number 2, keep conditioning off the mat short and sweet. We've all been there before. You step off the mat after having a crazy intense sparring round or really tough competitive match, and as you're standing on the edge of the mat completely gassed out and winded, you think to yourself,
I need to sit my black ass down and do some more cardio.
The biggest mistake grappling athletes make is opting for longer duration, lower intensity forms of conditioning instead of focusing on forms of conditioning that take place at higher intensities for shorter durations of time. If you're doing a standard 60 to 90 minute class of jiu-jitsu multiple times a week, that's a ton of physical activity that contributes to your overall conditioning for jiu-jitsu. The actual reason why you're gassing out is because you lack the ability to be explosive and then quickly recover to be ready to do it again if you need to. When it comes to training conditioning in the gym as a jiu-jitsu athlete, focus on training the end of the conditioning spectrum that you don't always expose yourself to when you're training jiu-jitsu on the mat. Instead of going out for a 30-45 minute jog, you can jump on a Concept 2 rower or a fan bike and perform multiple short sprints, but at a very high intensity. Here's a sample workout from the Strength Matrix that you can use to help improve your conditioning, and is one that I've used with hundreds of athletes across the world improve their conditioning for jiu-jitsu. Using a Concept 2 rower or a fan bike, you're gonna perform 6 total intervals of 15 seconds on and 45 seconds off. During the 15 seconds, you're gonna sprint as hard as you possibly can, and you're gonna rest during the 45 seconds off. If you really wanna challenge yourself, try doing this while nasal breathing the entire time. Tip number 3, get better at jiu-jitsu. Now I know this may seem a bit obvious, but hear me out. I received my purple belt in December of 2020, and after about 6 months of being a purple belt, I noticed my conditioning made some huge progress in that time. Now, normally, if something like that happened, I would have assumed it was because I was doing all this extra conditioning work in the gym, but that actually wasn't the case. At that time, I actually wasn't doing any conditioning work. I truly was just lifting my face off and training jiu-jitsu 4 to 6 times a week. What I realized was that as my skills and knowledge of jiu-jitsu increased, so did my efficiency of movement on the mat. Instead of wasting tons of energy straining to finish a submission that wasn't fully aligned or wasn't in the right position, I was able to use better hand fighting sequences and the proper technique to finish the choke while using minimal energy. At the end of the day, one of the best ways to supercharge your conditioning for jiu-jitsu is to minimize as much wasted energy as possible. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. My name is Josh Settlage and I am the BJJ Strength Coach. And before you head out, I did have a free gift that I'd love to send you. If you want to learn more about how you can get stronger so you can win more matches and get injured less, click the link in the description below and you can download a free 4-week strength program. If you want to learn more about how to enhance your jiu-jitsu performance, you can watch this video right here.